One of the things that you can do when you are in the moment and you're experiencing pain, especially for chronic pain that's lasted for more than 3 months, is to have a plan, right? Kind of like how I talked about in my other video with having a plan for like when you go out drinking or if you're trying to stay sober, having a plan can make it so that you're more likely to have a plan that's executed when you're actually in the moment and you may be stuck in your thoughts. You may have a lot of emotions going, a lot of other factors, right? Similarly, having a plan for when you're experiencing pain in the moment will be more likely that you're actually going to execute the plan in the long term. And just because you have a plan doesn't mean you're going to execute it, right? So one of the things that is important to keep in mind is to tailor the plan to you and what your needs are, what your interests are, just planning it around your life so that it's tailored to you. And if you were to look online, if you're going to ask like a chat AI bot like I did, no one plan is going to like be one size fits all for everybody. Because, for example, not everybody does yoga or not everybody likes to do exercise and so on and so on. But before we actually go into the making of the plan, here are just some 3 kind of areas that you want to consider and to help you kind of categorize it and make it that much more successful when you do have pain. And for those of you who are familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy, some of these terms are going to be very familiar to you and just be very intuitive. So how we kind of can look at it in terms of like a mental health, psychosocial, psychological kind of perspective is what we do in our day-to-day life starts, or one important thing is we have our thoughts. Our thoughts can have feelings tied to it, so emotions. And then these thoughts and feelings can then ultimately come out as an action or a behavior. And behaviors and what we do in our day-to-day life are highly influenced by our thoughts and our feelings, right? So if we kind of make our thoughts and feelings work in our favor, then we're much more likely to make best kind of choices, life choices, I guess, healthy choices in the long term when it comes to chronic pain treatment, because it's not like you're just going to have in the future just one more like flare up of pain. You're going to have a plan for how you work with each flare up of pain so that the ultimate goal is that as you kind of evolve and work with your plan and develop it and make it more and more tailored to you and more successful in combination with other strategies like I've talked about on this channel, such as using an app for pain diary logging, then you're going to be that much more successful and you're going to kind of notice and that your pain is going to go down more and more and more over the long term so that it's finally treated. And your chronic pain is just going to be like, instead of 90% of your life, maybe it'll be just only 10 or 5% of your life. And that's what we're really going for here on this channel when it comes to chronic pain. One thing you want to try and avoid is ruminating about pain. And ruminating is just kind of like getting stuck and thinking about it and thinking about it. If you think about it, no pun intended, being so stuck and thinking about pain is going to kind of influence a lot of how you're going to feel and then ultimately how you behave, because you might want to just find the easiest solution that may be turning to alcohol or something, or just doing nothing and staying idle and laying in bed. Try not to ruminate about pain, and one thing you can do is just to distract yourself. And that's one thing you can implement into your plan. So instead of thinking about your pain, being so stuck on the negativities of pain, try and focus on what your goals are and what are the things that you value in your life that you want to achieve, and focus more on that. Because why focus so much energy on our pain and trying to fix it if it's going to be with us for a while now? Why not focus on other things and put more of our energy on other things and let kind of pain be on the sidelines? And it's there in the background. We know it's there, but we're focusing more on like kind of like the game, so to speak, if it's like a sports kind of analogy. Feelings, the key to the feelings is to not, I think, be judgmental about your feelings. So if you're feeling hopeless, anger, sadness, whatever it is tied to the pain, just don't be so hard on yourself. And just remember that everybody feels these things, they go through these things. It's quite natural to feel this way, probably even as a protective response like anxiety and like fear. It's just, the thing is not to be so kind of like responsive to it, so stuck in it. Just accept it for what it is and just kind of like try and focus again, going back to what our values are and what our goals are, and then the feelings that may come with that, right? It might kind of stir different, more positive feelings. In other words, just try to have more self-compassion towards yourself. Being so hard on yourself can actually work against you and backfire and actually cause more pain, because all of these things, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, are all interrelated, and they can actually feed negatively into that pain system that our brain kind of like alerts us to and just make it worse. Last is our actions. So actions is pretty intuitive when it comes to choosing our actions, because when you kind of plan it out and have a list, you can kind of see what is probably the better choice, right? Like, for example, is it going and having a glass of wine, or is it going on a walk?